First contact fallout. The Zith observation vessel hung in Jupiter's shadow, its adaptive camouflage rendering it nearly invisible against the gas giant's swirling storms. Inside, Fleet Commander Thaxforan clicked his mandibles in contemplation as he studied the holographic projection of Earth. Primitive, he concluded, gesturing with a clawed appendage at the blue planet. Their vessels still rely on chemical propulsion for planetary escape. Their most advanced warships would barely qualify as civilian transports in our fleet. Science Director Val Tick bobbed her head in the Zith gesture of partial agreement. Yet they've colonized their moon and Mars in less than a century after achieving spaceflight. Their rate of technological advancement exceeds standard developmental models. It means nothing. Thaxforan dismissed with a flick of his secondary limbs. They evolved on a high-gravity world with extreme temperature variations, toxic atmospheric components, and dangerous radiation levels. A classic Death World species, certainly, but lacking the unified government structure necessary for galactic relevance. We should still approach with caution, Valtic insisted. Our preliminary scans indicate they've developed primitive nuclear weapons and— Enough, Thaxforan cut her off. The Grand Imperator has decided. We will make contact, assess their resources, and determine their value as a tributary species. The decision is not ours to question. 500 million kilometers away, Lieutenant Commander Elena Rice floated in Europa Research Station's observation dome, watching Jupiter's massive form dominate the horizon. The research outpost, humanity's furthest permanent settlement, housed 32 scientists and a security detail of 8. "Commander, you need to see this," called Dr. Abhik Chakraborty, his voice tense over the station's comm system. Elena pushed off from the viewing panel and propelled herself through the microgravity environment toward the sensor lab. "What is it?" "Abhik." The astrophysicist pointed to his display. "Energy signature hiding in Jupiter's magnetosphere. Definitely artificial. Definitely not one of ours." Elena felt her heart rate spike as she examined the readings. After decades of searching, humanity had its answer. We were not alone. And apparently, our new neighbors liked to spy. "Have you notified Earth?" she asked, already calculating response scenarios. "Transmission sent, but there's an 18-minute communication delay. I've also informed Captain Rivera and—" The station's emergency klaxon cut him off. Red warning lights bathed the lab in crimson pulses. "Unidentified vessel emerging from Jupiter's orbit," announced the station's eye. "Approach vector indicates intercept course. Energy readings consistent with weapons systems activation." "So much for first contact protocols," Elena muttered, pushing toward the command center. "All personnel, this is not a drill. Secure sensitive materials and proceed to designated safe zones." The first energy blast struck before she reached her destination. The station shuddered, emergency bulkheads slamming shut as atmosphere vented from damaged sections. Elena sealed her emergency suit just as gravity failed completely. 3 hours later, Elena regained consciousness in what appeared to be a holding cell. Her head throbbed, and the gravity felt wrong. Stronger than Europa's minimal pull, but lighter than Earth standard. The air carried unfamiliar scents, metallic with underlying notes of something like cinnamon and ammonia. The cell's walls shimmered and became transparent, revealing a tall, insectoid creature with 4 arms and iridescent carapace. Its large compound eyes studied her with unnerving intensity. "You are the commanding officer." The question came in perfect English, though no visible mouth moved. Elena straightened her posture despite her injuries. "Lieutenant Commander Elena Reyes, Terran Defense Force. I demand to know why you've attacked a peaceful research facility in violation of all civilized first contact protocols." The creature made a sound like stones rattling in a metal can. Laughter, she realized. "Your species has no standing in galactic law. Your facility was monitoring our vessel without permission. Now you belong to the Zith Imperium. Where are my people?" Elena demanded. The others resisted integration more vigorously than anticipated. "You are the only viable specimen remaining. Cold fury replaced Alina's fear. 39 colleagues, scientists, engineers, friends, gone. You murdered them. They refused surrender. An unfortunate but predictable response from a Deathworld species. The Zith tilted its head. Your defensive capabilities were surprisingly robust for a research station. 6 warriors lost to primitive projectile weapons and improvised explosives. Fascinating adaptation. Alina said nothing, committing every detail about her captor to memory. I am Science Director Val Tick. The alien continued. You will provide information about Earth's defenses, resource distribution, and governmental structures. Cooperation will improve your living conditions. I'm required to give only my name, rank, and identification number, Alina replied. And to inform you that Earth does not respond well to hostility. A predictable position. Valtic responded. But unnecessary. We've already intercepted your world's broadcasts and digital communications. Your species lacks unified planetary defenses. Your most powerful nations maintain separate military forces, often in opposition to one another. Your technology is centuries behind galactic standard. The alien touched a control panel, and a holographic display appeared between them showing Earth's major cities, military installations, and orbital assets. Resistance would be pointless and wasteful. Valtic continued. The Zith Imperium has incorporated hundreds of species. Those who accept tributary status prosper. Those who resist are disciplined. Alina studied the display, noting with professional interest the accuracy of the Zith intelligence. They had indeed been watching Earth for some time. But their assessment contained critical misunderstandings. If you've studied us, Alina said carefully, then you know humans have never united more quickly than when facing an external threat. Veltic's mandibles clicked in what Alina interpreted as dismissal. Your historical conflicts were against equally primitive opponents. The Zith Imperium commands technologies your scientists cannot comprehend. Our smallest corvette could eliminate your largest military installation. Then why talk to me at all? Alina challenged. Why not simply take what you want? Efficient resource extraction requires cooperation. Willing subjects are more productive than conquered ones. Valtic moved closer to the transparent barrier. You misunderstand your situation. This is not a negotiation. It is orientation. Then let me explain something about humans, Alina said, stepping forward until she was inches from the barrier. Right now, my disappearance and the destruction of our outpost has already triggered Earth's first contact defense protocols. While you're busy underestimating us, we're preparing to show you exactly why we survived to Deathworld. For just a moment, Alina detected something like uncertainty in the alien's posture before it recovered its composure. Fascinating, Valtic said. Your species displays remarkable confidence despite overwhelming disadvantage. Perhaps this is why Deathworld species are considered unpredictable. The barrier between them solidified again, leaving Alina alone. She immediately began examining her cell, searching for weaknesses, gathering information. The Zith had made a serious miscalculation in leaving her alive. They thought they were dealing with primitive beings who would cower before superior technology. They had no idea what humans were capable of when pushed to the wall. Back on Earth, in the underground complex of Terran Defense Force headquarters, Admiral Marcus Jackson stood before the United Earth Security Council. His expression, grim as satellite imagery, showed the remains of Europa Research Station. Counselors, we have confirmation. The station was attacked by a non-human vessel using directed energy weapons. Based on the final transmissions from Lieutenant Commander Reyes, we're dealing with a technologically advanced species that calls itself the Zith Imperium. Casualties? Asked the counselor from the African Union, her voice tight. 39 confirmed dead. 1 possible survivor, Lieutenant Commander Alina Reyes. Her emergency beacon activated briefly before going silent. Options. The Russian counselor leaned forward. Admiral Jackson's face hardened. The Zith have made a critical error in judgment. They've attacked a human outpost, killed our people, and apparently taken Commander Reyes prisoner. They've mistaken our peaceful expansion for weakness. He activated a holographic display showing Earth's orbital defense grid and the rapidly mobilizing fleets of the Terran Defense Force. I'm not proposing we match them ship for ship. Based on Commander Ray's final analysis, they would outclass us in conventional space combat. A predatory smile crossed his face. So we won't fight conventionally. What are you suggesting, Admiral? Asked the Chinese counselor. Humanity evolved on a death world, counselors. We survived ice ages, asteroid impacts, plagues, and our own nuclear weapons. Our entire history is a testament to adapting, improvising, and overcoming impossible odds. Admiral Jackson's eyes glinted with determination. I'm suggesting we show these Sith exactly why the primitive Deathworlders should never have been provoked. As the council chambers erupted in strategic discussion, billions of kilometers away, Alina Reyes lay on the floor of her cell, eyes closed, breathing regulated, appearing to have collapsed from stress or injury. The Sith guard outside registered her vital signs, but failed to notice her fingers methodically testing a loose panel she had discovered. Her first step toward turning the Sith's arrogance into their downfall. They'd soon learn that capturing the human wasn't the same as containing one. The Sith had made their first move. Now humanity would respond, and the galaxy would never be the same. Understanding the enemy. Science Director Valtik's laboratory hummed with activity as she meticulously catalogued the human prisoner's biological readings. The specimen, Alina Reyes, displayed remarkable resilience. Despite injuries sustained during capture and the unfamiliar environment, her vital signs had stabilized quickly. Too quickly, perhaps. Extraordinary adaptation rate, Valtik dictated to her research log. Subject's cellular repair mechanisms exceed predicted values by 23%. Respiratory efficiency in our atmosphere achieved within 9 standard cycles. Most species require chemical assistance for such transitions. Fleet Commander Thaxvorin entered the laboratory, his armored exoskeleton gleaming under the harsh lights. The Grand Imperator demands progress. Science Director. 3 cycles have passed since the human outpost's neutralization. Valtik's mandibles twitched with irritation. Science cannot be rushed, Commander. This species presents anomalies that warrant thorough investigation. Anomalies. Thaxvorin's voice carried dismissive undertones. They're bipedal mammals with rudimentary technology. What possible threat could they pose? Valtik activated a holographic display showing Alina's physiological scans alongside Sith baseline metrics. Their endurance exceeds our warriors by a factor of 3. Their bones are denser than our exoskeletons despite lower mass. Their sensory redundancy is remarkable. Damage one system, and others compensate immediately. Evolved traits from their hostile homeworld. Thaxvorin waved a dismissive claw. Nothing that advanced weaponry cannot overcome. Perhaps, Valtik conceded, but consider their psychological profile. Despite isolation and inferior position, the specimen shows minimal stress markers. No begging, no breakdown, no surrender. Instead, I detect systematic observation and analysis. You attribute too much intelligence to a primitive. And you underestimate a Deathworld species, she countered. Examine their historical records. These humans have conducted warfare against themselves continuously throughout their development. Their tactical thinking is unconventional. The commander chittered with amusement. Are you suggesting we delay the invasion because one prisoner concerns you? I suggest we proceed with caution. The specimen warned of protocols activated by their outpost's destruction. If true, bluster from a desperate primitive, Thaxvorin interrupted. Our scouts report minimal orbital defenses around Earth. Their military vessels use chemical propellants and projectile weapons. They have no energy shields, no faster-than-light capability, no quantum communications. And yet, Valtik persisted. They colonized 3 celestial bodies within their system despite these limitations. Their technological advancement curve is nearly vertical. Enough. Thaxvorin's secondary limbs twitched with finality. The Grand Imperator has reviewed your preliminary reports and made his decision. The invasion fleet launches in 30 cycles. Earth will become a tributary world, its resources feeding the Imperium's expansion. After the commander departed, Valtik returned to her observation of Elena. The human sat cross-legged on the floor of her containment cell, eyes closed, breathing regulated. "You continue your meditation practice despite captivity," Valtik noted through the communication system. Elena's eyes opened, unnervingly direct. "Not meditation. Planning. Planning. Your situation offers no variables to manipulate." A smile crossed Elena's face, a baring of teeth that ancestral instinct told Valtik was a threat display, though her research indicated humans used it for multiple social signals. "That's your first mistake," Elena said. "Humans always find variables." Valtik found herself intrigued despite her scientific detachment. "You appear confident despite overwhelming disadvantage." "Another misconception," Elena replied. "From my perspective, you're the ones at a disadvantage. You've never faced humans before. We've spent our entire existence overcoming impossible odds." An interesting perspective from a prisoner. "I'm more than a prisoner," Elena said. "I'm a witness and a warning." Valtik tilted her head. "Explain." "You've studied our biology, but missed something fundamental about humans." Elena stood slowly, movements deliberate. "Everything you've seen so far, it's humans playing nice." The statement triggered an involuntary threat response in Valtik's nervous system, an evolutionary relic she hadn't experienced in decades of xenobiological research. "You destroyed our outpost, killed my colleagues, taken me prisoner," Elena continued, her voice eerily calm. "Those actions have consequences. If your people proceed with invasion plans, you'll learn what humans are truly capable of." Valtik's scientific curiosity overwhelmed her unease. "And what is that, precisely?" "Adaptation at a speed that defies evolutionary models, innovation that turns disadvantage into advantage, and a particular talent for turning an enemy's strength against them." Elena's gaze never wavered. "We survived a planet that tried to kill us every day for millions of years. What makes you think we can't survive you?" Before Valtik could respond, a security alert blared throughout the laboratory. The communication panel flashed with emergency coding. "Science Director to Command Deck immediately," came the dispatcher's urgent chittering. "Unknown vessels detected near Earth's moon." As Valtik hurried from the laboratory, she couldn't shake the unsettling feeling that the human's warning wasn't empty bluster. It was a prediction. Admiral Marcus Jackson stood on the observation deck of the TDF Indomitable, Earth's newest and most advanced warship. Though primitive by Zith standards, it represented humanity's finest military engineering, a vessel designed by people who had spent millennia fighting each other and were now united against an external threat. "Status report," he ordered, watching as Earth's moon grew larger in the view screen. "All modified vessels in position, Admiral," reported Commander Samira Kazemi. "Mining ships equipped with electromagnetic pulse generators deployed near Lagrange Point 4. Retrofitted cargo haulers with ablative armor and missile platforms at Lagrange Point 5. Civilian communication satellites reprogrammed as outlined in Operation Hornet's Nest." Jackson nodded with satisfaction. When the Zith intelligence had penetrated Earth's digital networks, they'd seen what humans wanted them to see: fragmented defenses, disunited military forces, vulnerable infrastructure. What they hadn't seen was the first contact contingency plan that had existed for decades, a plan that didn't rely on matching an advanced enemy's technology, but on using humanity's greatest strength, turning everyday tools into unexpected weapons. "And our special delivery?" Jackson asked. Commander Kazemi allowed herself a small smile. "Dr. Chen reports the nanofabricators are operating at 120% capacity. The first batch of presents will be ready when our visitors arrive." "Excellent." Jackson turned his attention to the tactical display, showing the positions of Earth's hastily assembled defense fleet. No sleek battlecruisers or advanced destroyers. Instead, a motley collection of repurposed civilian vessels, mining platforms, and space construction equipment formed an unconventional defensive perimeter around Earth's orbit. "Sir," called Lieutenant Rodriguez from the communications station, "we're receiving transmission from Lunar Defense Base Alpha. They've detected multiple objects decelerating from FTL at the edge of the system. Configuration matches what we extracted from Europa Station's final scans." "So our uninvited guests have arrived," Jackson said. "Time to welcome them properly. Initiate Operation Deathworlder." Fleet Commander Thax Voren surveyed the holographic display of the Sol system with satisfaction. The invasion fleet, 15 warships including his flagship, the Inevitable Conquest, had emerged from faster-than-light travel precisely as calculated. Earth lay before them, a blue-green prize ripe for claiming. "Preliminary scans, Tactical Officer," he ordered. "Minimal orbital defenses detected," Commander reported Officer Krekval. "Primitive satellites in standard communication configuration. Several small vessels near their moon, likely civilian mining operations. Their primitive detection systems have noted our arrival. Increased communications traffic detected. Any military response? None that our sensors can detect. Their primary defense vessels appear to be gathering in near-Earth orbit. Primitive chemical propulsion. Limited maneuvering capability." Thax Voren's mandibles clicked with pleasure. As expected, the humans realized their inferiority and gathered their pitiful defenses around their homeworld. Science Director Valtic entered the command deck, her movements conveying urgency. "Commander, I must insist we proceed with caution. My analysis of the human specimen suggests—" "Your specimen is irrelevant now," Thax Voren interrupted. "Observe, Science Director. A primitive world about to learn its place in the Imperium." He gestured to the communications officer. "Establish broadcast on all frequencies they use. Let them hear the terms of their surrender." The communications officer complied, sending the standard Imperial subjugation message across Earth's electromagnetic spectrum. A demand for immediate surrender, tribute requirements, and consequences for resistance. "Response incoming," announced the communications officer, surprise evident in his voice. "Audio only." "Put it through," Thax Voren ordered. A calm, authoritative human voice filled the command deck. "This is Admiral Marcus Jackson of the Terran Defense Force. We acknowledge your presence and your demands." A pause. "We respectfully decline." Thax Voren chittered with amusement. "Their bravery is as primitive as their technology. Tactical, target their largest orbital defense platform. A demonstration is required." "Sir," interrupted the sensor officer, detecting unusual energy signatures from the lunar region. "Several of the vessels we classified as mining operations are changing configuration." "Changing how?" Valtic moved to the sensor station, her scientific curiosity piqued. "Unknown, Director. They appear to be deploying something." On the main display, several small vessels previously identified as mining platforms suddenly erupted with clouds of what appeared to be metallic dust. The clouds expanded rapidly, forming a glittering barrier between the Zith fleet and Earth. "Analyze," Thax Voren ordered, irritation replacing his confidence. "Composition appears to be refined metallic particulates with unusual electromagnetic properties," reported the science officer. "Purpose unknown." Valtic's posture stiffened with sudden comprehension. "Commander, recommend immediate defensive measures." The human prisoner warned of this. "Warned of dust." Thax Voren scoffed. "Navigational officer, proceed as planned. This primitive obscuration tactic changes nothing." The Zith fleet continued its advance toward Earth, the flagship Inevitable Conquest leading the formation. As they approached the mysterious metallic cloud, their sensors began reporting anomalies. "Signal interference increasing," reported the communications officer. "Internal fleet communications degrading." "Long-range sensors compromised," added the tactical officer. The particulate matter is absorbing our scanning frequencies. As the first Zith vessels entered the cloud, alarms blared across the command deck. Multiple system failures reported across the fleet. The tactical officer's voice rose with urgency. Power fluctuations, weapons systems offline, shield generators failing. Thax Voren's confidence evaporated as he realized what was happening. The cloud, it's not obscuration. It's a weapons system. The metallic particles weren't just blocking sensors. They were designed to penetrate shield harmonics, infiltrate critical systems, and cause cascading failures. The humans had created a defensive measure specifically tailored to Zith technology. Technology they shouldn't have even understood, let alone countered. All vessels, emergency protocols. Thax Voren ordered, withdraw from the cloud immediately. But it was too late. The Zith fleet, masters of 100 star systems, conquerors of dozens of species, found themselves immobilized by what amounted to sophisticated metal dust deployed by primitive mining vessels. On the view screen, Admiral Jackson's face appeared, his expression calm but determined. Fleet Commander, you seem to be experiencing technical difficulties. Perhaps now would be a good time to discuss terms that don't involve surrender, ours or yours. As Thax Voren stared in disbelief at the human admiral, Val Tick moved beside him, her voice low. I tried to warn you, Commander. They're Deathworlders. They've spent their entire existence turning disadvantages into advantages. This is impossible, Thax Voren hissed. They couldn't have developed countermeasures to technology they've never encountered. That, replied Val Tick, watching as human vessels, clearly repurposed civilian craft, moved to surround the immobilized Zith fleet, is exactly what makes them dangerous. In her holding cell aboard the flagship, Alina Reyes felt the ship's systems faltering and smiled. Humanity had responded exactly as she'd expected, not with brute force, but with ingenuity. Now it was her turn to play her part. The loose panel she'd been methodically working on for days finally gave way, revealing the ship's secondary systems conduit. As the Zith crew focused on the external crisis, none noticed their lone human prisoner slipping into the maintenance tunnels of the inevitable conquest, ready to bring the fight inside. The Zith had come expecting easy conquest of a primitive species. Instead, they were getting their first lesson in why humans were the apex predators of their deathworld. And the lesson was just beginning. The counterattack begins. The maintenance tunnels of the inevitable conquest were designed for the multi-limbed Zith maintenance drones, not human anatomy. Alina crawled through the cramped passages, her muscles burning from the strain of moving in the unfamiliar artificial gravity. The ship's emergency systems bathed the tunnels in pulsing amber light, casting bizarre, elongated shadows across the alien architecture. Her years of zero combat training on Luna Base were proving invaluable now. She navigated by memory, reconstructing the ship's layout from her weeks of careful observation. Every time the Zith had moved her between the containment cell and Val Tick's laboratory, she had been mapping, counting steps, noting junction points, studying access panels. A nearby explosion rocked the vessel, nearly dislodging her from her precarious position. The counterattack had begun in earnest. Damage report, Fleet Commander Thax Voren demanded, his mandibles clicking rapidly in agitation as the command deck shuddered around him. Warning indicators flashed across every console. Human vessels are deploying some kind of mining charges against our hull, reported the tactical officer, compound eyes wide with alarm. They're targeting shield generator nodes with precision strikes. Impossible, Thax Voren hissed. Their sensors couldn't possibly identify those vulnerabilities. Science Director Val Tick moved to the tactical station, analyzing the attack pattern. They didn't need to. Look at the deployment sequence. They're systematically testing our hull, observing energy fluctuations, then concentrating on areas that show feedback. She turned to the commander. They're reverse engineering our shield technology in real time. Another impact rocked the flagship, more violent than the last. The overhead illumination flickered, then stabilized at reduced intensity. Main shields at 38% capacity, announced the defensive systems officer. Secondary generators overheating from compensatory load. Thaxvoran's frustration manifested in a high-pitched chittering that set the bridge crew on edge. Return fire. Deploy swarm drones. Weapons systems still recalibrating after the particulate infiltration. The weapons officer responded. Drone bay doors non-responsive. The control mechanisms appear to have been physically damaged. How? Thaxvoran demanded. Nothing has breached our hull. An alert tone sounded from the internal security console. Commander, we have anomalous readings in Maintenance Sector 7. Possible intrusion. As the Zith security team scrambled to investigate, Alina had already moved to her primary target, the ship's environmental control system. During her captivity, she had observed the Zith's peculiar sensitivity to atmospheric composition. Their exoskeletons, while tough, were semi-permeable, designed to absorb certain nutrients directly from their native atmosphere. That vulnerability had been thoroughly documented in her reports to Earth before the station attack. She found the access panel she sought and pried it open, revealing the complex network of atmospheric regulators. With methodical precision, she began reconfiguring the settings, drawing on her emergency technical training. Small adjustments, she murmured to herself. Nothing obvious enough to trigger automated safeguards. She increased carbon dioxide by 2%, reduced oxygen by 3%, and introduced a subtle variation in humidity levels, changes that would slowly compromise Zith performance without triggering alarms. Then she moved deeper into the ship's systems, heading for her next target. Internal communications. Admiral Jackson watched the tactical display aboard the Indomitable with intense concentration. The retrofitted mining vessels were performing even better than expected. Their industrial drilling equipment, originally designed to break apart asteroids, now systematically weakening the Zith warship's shield generators. Phase 1 nearly complete, Admiral, reported Commander Kazemi. Their shields are destabilizing across all vessels. Our modulation sequence is adapting faster than their compensatory algorithms. Jackson nodded with satisfaction. The benefits of evolving on a planet where standing still means death. We've been adapting to new threats since we crawled out of the primordial soup. He turned to the communications officer. Signal Captain Okafor. Begin Phase 2. Across the battlefield, a cluster of Earth's cargo haulers, massive vessels normally used for transporting ore from the asteroid belt, suddenly changed formation. Their cargo bay doors opened, releasing thousands of objects barely larger than basketballs. Drone swarm deployed, announced Lieutenant Rodriguez. All units transmitting. The tactical display updated to show the spreading cloud of small devices surrounding the Zith vessels. These were Earth's answer to advanced alien technology. Not massive, power-hungry weapons, platforms, but thousands of simple, networked drones built from commercial electronics and mining excavation charges. Individual drone capabilities minimal, Jackson had explained when proposing the strategy. But networked intelligence and sheer numbers create an overwhelming tactical problem. Now that strategy unfolded as the swarm surrounded the Zith fleet, attaching to hull plates, congregating around weapon ports, and infiltrating damaged sections. The Zith rely on centralized systems, Jackson observed to his bridge crew. Hierarchical command structures, concentrated power generation, unified shields. They've never needed to defend against distributed attacks because the species they conquered think like they do. Commander Kazemi nodded. But humans evolved as pack hunters, using coordination and endurance to take down larger prey. Exactly, Jackson said with grim satisfaction. We're not trying to overpower their technology with our own. We're changing the nature of the battlefield. On the inevitable Conquest's command deck, chaos was spreading. Multiple systems were failing simultaneously, with no clear cause or solution. The metallic dust cloud had been just the beginning. Now the humans were employing tactics that defied conventional space warfare doctrine. Thousands of small devices attaching to our hull, reported the increasingly frantic tactical officer. They appear to be crude explosive packages combined with commercial communication technology. Destroy them. Fax foreign ordered. Point defense systems ineffective. Too many targets, and they're exploiting our firing algorithms to predict safe approach vectors. Science Director Valtic studied the tactical display with growing professional admiration despite their dire situation. Remarkable. They're using a biological model, like insects overwhelming a larger predator. This is not a scientific observation opportunity. Fax foreign snapped. It's an attack by primitives who should be cowering before our technology. That's precisely why we're losing. Valtic countered. You keep expecting them to behave like a conventional spacefaring species. They're not. They're apex predators from a death world who've turned their entire industrial base into weapons in ways we never anticipated. A series of synchronized explosions rippled across the ship's hull, each individually minor but collectively damaging critical external components. Meanwhile, bridge officers were beginning to show signs of disorientation, movement slowing, decision-making degrading. Environmental systems report nominal, said the life support officer in response to Faxforeign's query. However, crew efficiency appears to be dropping across all decks. Valtic's scientific mind made the connection immediately. The human prisoner. Where is she? A security scan revealed what she feared. The containment cell was empty. Full lockdown, Faxforeign ordered. Find the human immediately. But Alina was already 3 sections away, having compromised not only environmental controls, but also the ship's internal security network. Using maintenance accesses, she had reached the vessel's secondary reactor control room, currently unmanned as the crew responded to external threats. Here, she implemented the next phase of her plan. While lacking the codes to cause a catastrophic overload, she could introduce subtle instabilities into the power distribution system, creating cascading failures that would force the Zith to shut down weapons systems to compensate. As she worked, Alina activated a small device she had assembled from components stolen during her captivity, a crude transmitter that would connect with the human drone swarm now surrounding the ship. Alina raised to TDF Indomitable. She transmitted on the frequency established in Earth's contingency protocols. Phase 3 initiated from inside the flagship, ready for extraction at coordinates to follow. Admiral Jackson received Alina's transmission with a mixture of relief and admiration. She's alive, and she's turned their flagship into a liability from the inside. That woman deserves every medal we have, Commander Kazemi said, shaking her head in amazement. She'll get them, Jackson agreed. Now let's make sure she lives to wear them. Signal Captain Okafor. Reconfigure Drone Strike Package Delta to focus on extraction coordinates when received, and prepare our boarding teams. The modified cargo shuttles, now troop transports, moved into position, their civilian origins disguised by hastily attached armor plating and weapons mounts. Inside, soldiers equipped with tactical gear designed specifically for the Zith physiology waited for deployment orders. This was never about ship-to-ship combat, Jackson reminded his officers. The Zith expected us to either surrender immediately or attempt to match their firepower with our own inferior technology. They never considered that we'd turn the entire battlefield